Guys, how are you all?
Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm
I'm
fine,
good.
thank you. Good morning.
Mm, I hope everyone is safe. Rosalind, are you safe? Rosemary, are you fine? Johnson, you are welcome. Okay, so if you want to talk, then you unmute your mic, and then if you finish, then you can mute it as much as possible. Let's try to minimize the background noise so that we can enjoy each other the audio. So we started with can you see my screen?
It's gone on now.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. So we started discussing residents. So we went through what a typical treaty will look like, and then the provisions under residents. Like I said, I've just jumped Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, and I'm in Article 4 because Article 4 seems to be very important, and for exams purposes, you are likely to meet several questions regarding Article 4. That's why I started that I mentioned that we treat Article 4 first. So, any questions so far from the last discussion? And before we take today's on, after the questions, let's see who can wrap up what we learned the last time for us. So, first questions. Are you all with me? Any question?
Yeah.
Yeah, any question? Hey, doesn't mean that you understand everything.
Oh, oh, that's not when
Or
you ask.
or I should post a question on the platform and then let's discuss. At least we are done, and I believe that you understand the Article 4.1, how Article 4.1 questions look like. So we are now going to Article 4.2. So hey,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, let's look at this question. Um, I know the last time we are treating one question that's related to,
Individual.
yeah, individual. So let's look at this question. Um,
Hello, Timo.
yes,
Which subject is this one? Sorry to ask because I think
it's
I've missed
international
about
taxation.
two
International taxation.
international taxation.
Yeah,
Okay.
you are
All
lost.
right.
This is your first time of joining us. Eh?
Yeah.
Mm,
So I seem to
yeah,
be lost.
okay. Trying to get a question, but
Isn't it fry? Or this is a different question?
yeah, there is
Hello,
one fry,
hello.
but yeah, we
It
can
seems
hear
I'm
you.
also lost.
Who is talking, please? Who is talking? Hello? Who said he's lost? Johnson. Hello,
Hello.
Johnson. Yes. You say you are lost. Can you hear Johnson? Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I can hear
Johnson.
you.
Johnson,
Yes,
you're
I
I
can
asking
don't
a
hear
question.
you.
see the presentation.
Okay, so first,
Yeah,
Johnson, you
hello.
say you are lost. Let's find you. Johnson, where are you lost? Is Johnson on the line? Okay. Don't worry. When he finds himself, he'll join us. All right. So if you don't have
But
any question,
hello. Yeah,
yes.
I can't see the presentation. It's just the faces. I don't know if it's only me, but I don't see the presentation.
Who can see the presentation?
It's gone now. Okay, now I can see. I can see.
Okay. Fred, mute your mic. Eh? Ibrahim, mute your mic. All right. So I hope you can see my presentation now. This you can see my presentation. So let's proceed. Um, we started dealing with Article 4.1. We are done with it. So please, any question that comes, I believe that you should be able to answer it. So now let's move to Article 4.2. Article 4.2 deals with company, and we are just reading the main article. We've not come to the commentary yet. So last week or the last time when we met, we look at Article 4.2, the article itself. So when we finish, then we'll come and look at the commentary. In fact, I asked you to look at the commentary, but I'm not sure you were able to look at it. So let's go to Article 4.2, and then we'll see what it says. When we finish, then we come to Article 4.3. Article 4.1 was just the definitions of the treaties and other stuff. Now we are moving to Article 4.3. So Fred, you have the book. So read Article 4.3 for us.
So the 4.1 is the definition, 4.2 is the individual. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and then 4.3 will deal with any other person other than individual. So you talk about companies and other
Okay.
persons who are subject to tax. So read 4.3.
Okay. 4.3. Whereby reason of the provisions of paragraph 1, a person other than an individual is a resident of both contracting states. The competent authorities of the contracting state shall endeavor to determine by mutual agreement the contracting state of which such people shall be deemed to be residents for the purpose of the convention, having regard to each place of effective management, the place where it is incorporated or otherwise constituted, and any other relevant factors. In the
Good.
absence of okay.
So you see, this is the provision now. Okay. Oh, Johnson. Okay, so Johnson, it means that you say you are doing an indirect tax. Okay, we'll sort you out later. So Article 4.2 was very clear, but 4.3 is a bit difficult because you are dealing with persons other than individuals. So
Okay.
the article is saying that in such a situation, the best thing that you can do is to agree where the resident of the person is using mutual agreement. So the two contracting states will meet together and then decide. But in deciding, they are supposed to consider certain factors in reaching an agreement. So the first factor that you have to consider is you have to look at the place of effective management where key decisions are taken, and then the place where the entity is incorporated. Okay, and any other relevant factor in determining the place or the residence of that entity. But in the exams, you are likely to see the place of incorporation. The scenario question will give you the place of incorporation and then also the place of effective management. So these two factors mostly feature in the scenario questions. So you are supposed to consider these things in determining the resident of the person. Read on. Continue to read.
In the absence in the absence of such agreement, such persons shall not be entitled to any relief or exemption from tax provided by this convention, except to the extent and in such a manner as may be agreed upon by the competent authorities of the contracting states.
Good. So if the contracting states are unable to agree or unable to use these factors in determining the residence of the entity, then there wouldn't be any benefits for such a person. Now let's move on to the commentary. Okay, let's move on to the commentary. But first, let's go back to the commentary and read the first commentary on the individuals. So I'm going to project it for you, and then we consider the individual. When we finish with the individual, then we'll look at. So let's go back to Article 4.2. So read Article 4.2 again for me.
Article 4.2, where by reason of the provisions of paragraph 1, an individual is a resident of both contracting states, then his status shall be determined as follows. A. He shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state in which he has a permanent home available to him. If he has a permanent home available to him in both states, he shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state with which his personal and economic relations are closer, center of vital interest. B. If the state in which he has a center of vital interest cannot be determined, or he has not a permanent home available to him in either state, he shall be deemed to be resident only of the state in which he has an habitual abode. C. If he has an habitual abode in both states or in neither of them, shall be deemed to be resident only the state of which is a national. If he is a national of both states, of neither of them, the competent authorities of the contract shall settle the question by mutual agreement.
Good. So if you go to the commentary, and I'm projecting the commentary, we have something we call the tiebreaker rule or the tiebreaker test. So you see, for the individuals, the guy can be a resident in one and In fact, he can have dual residence. So we need to break the tie. So in order of priority, this is how we break the tie. The first one that you have to consider is look at his permanent home. Okay. When you finish looking at his permanent home and you are unable to break the tie, then you look at his center of vital interest, which is the second one. After his center of vital interest, you go to his personal and economic interest. You consider his habitual home. You consider his nationality, or if any of these things does not agree, then you use mutual agreement to settle the matter. So the question is, what is mutual agreement? So what is permanent home? Read if you have your
Before you
treaty,
go
most
on,
of
I want to ask a question.
Mhm.
Isn't the center of vital interest the same as the personal and economic relation?
Yes.
Because in the order of the tie break, I saw center of vital interest, then after personal and economic relation. Yeah.
No, you see. Okay, you when we go to the commentary, I believe that you and okay, read the order again from the book from the treaty, and let's
From the article 4.2.
yes, from the article.
Whereby reason of the provision of paragraph, an individual as a resident of both contracting states, then his status shall be determined as follows. A.
Mhm.
He shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state in which he has a permanent home available to him. If he has a permanent home available to him in both states, he shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state with which his personal and economic relations are closer, into bracket center of vital interest.
So we are talking about permanent home and then center of economic interest. They are different. Permanent home is one, and then center of vital interest. Where does your center of vital interest? I'm sure we're looking at some social status, where your wife and other staff live, and all of these things are found in the commentary. So maybe hold your question when we get to the commentary, then we'll come. So we are going to first
Okay.
look at what is permanent home. When we finish with the permanent home, then we'll come to this center of vital interest. So first, let's look at what is permanent home. And
Hello,
please note
Francis.
that, yeah,
I think the question is on center of vital interest and personal and economic interest. Because if you look at the article itself, um,
mhm,
it says that he shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state in which he has a permanent home available to him. If he has a permanent home available to him in both states, he shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state with which his personal and economic relations are closer, into brackets, center of vital interest. So
yes,
I was thinking, and I think his question is, the center of vital interest, is it not the same as personal and economic relations?
yes,
But when you look at the Thai breaker test,
Breaker test.
we we have after the permanent home, we have center of vital interest. Then after that, we have personal and economic interest before the habitual
oh, okay,
abode.
okay,
So
okay, I
so
get you.
Uh-huh.
I understand. But let's go to the explanation. Each of them has a separate meaning, though they are one. Personal home and center of vital interest are put together, but they are different. So, if you have the commentary, let's now go to the first one, personal home. Okay,
Comment.
read paragraph 13. Can you see from
Paragraph.
the article? Yes, paragraph 13. I mean, from the blue book. Read the commentary
Yes.
there for me. Mm-hmm.
Paragraph 13. Okay, yeah, paragraph 2, paragraph. That one is that one you're talking about.
Yes, and article 4. You see the paragraphs and the comment in the commentary section, not the main. Unfortunately, most of you don't have the book, so
As regards the concept of home, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
As
So we are
regards
looking at the permanent home first.
as regard the concept of home, it shall be observed that any form of home may be taken into account, house or apartment belonging to or rented by the individual, rented furnished room. But the permanency of the home is essential. This means that the individual has arranged to have the dwelling available to him at all times continuously and not occasionally for the purpose of a stay, which, owing to the reason for it, is necessarily of short duration. To bracket travel for pleasure, business travel, educational travel, attend a course at a school, etc. For instance, a house owned by an individual cannot be considered to be available to that individual during a period when the house has been rented out and effectively handed over to an unrelated party, so that the individual no longer has the possession of the house and the possibility to stay there.
Good. So you see, the home that we are talking about here, in a scenario question, that is how the question will be given to you. So, for example, we'll tell you that the person has a home, but he has rented it out. So, from what you have read, if you have a home, but you have rented it out, do you still consider it as a permanent home?
No.
Good. So that permanent home that you even read under our own law, you remember under section 101, when we're looking at the residence of an individual, we say a citizen other than someone who has a permanent home. So this permanent home definition that you have read applies to that permanent home that we're talking about in our local law. So even if you have a permanent home but you have rented it out and it is not accessible to you, we will not call it a permanent home. It doesn't matter whether the house belongs to you. Do you understand that? You understand the whole thing that we are talking about?
Yes, please.
Any question on this one?
So
read the paragraph 4.
I wanted to ask, so in a situation where maybe you rent it, not rent it, but okay, so in a situation where you rent it out, then maybe it's 2 apartments, you rent it out, then maybe per the condition, the person you rented out, that you told him that as and when you come and sleep in one of their rooms. Can you call it a permanent home?
In that case, it is available to you. You understand?
Okay.
Read the paragraph 14. And that is why I said that it is important to read the commentary,
Francis.
because yes.
How? So meaning with all that was said in the resident permanent home, meaning if I even rent, the place belongs to me, but I've rented it out fully, and it was rented to a related party, it will still be a permanent home for that person.
Good. Well, you know why we say related party? It means that you can easily get access to it.
Access to the place.
You've rented it out to your brother. The possibility of you getting access to it isn't it so high than if you have rented it to someone who is not related to you. In fact, if my landlord rents a house to me and my landlord comes to me, should I just vacate the place for him to stay in there? But if the person is related to you, the possibility of you getting access to it. So you understand this permanent home that we have set up there, we are just trying to understand what exactly do they mean by permanent home. You understand?
Yeah.
So Fred, continue to read the read the 14.
14. If the individual has a permanent home in both contracting states, paragraph 2, gives preference to the state with which the personal and economic relation of the individual are closer. This is being understood as a center of vital interest. In the cases where the residence cannot be determined by reference to this rule, paragraph 2 provides as a subsidiary criteria. First, habitual abode, and then nationality. If the individual is a national of both states, or of neither of them, the question shall be solved by mutual agreement between the state concerned according to the procedure laid down in Article 25.
Good. So that is how. But let's go back to 12. Let's go back to 12.
Okay. 12.
Hello,
Paragraph
Yes.
A.
Yes.
but which book are we reading?
We are reading the OECD commentary. You say you have one. Look at page 108. Page 109. You see, in the main article, we were just told, and even if you take our main if you take our treaties, do you have our treaties there? Reverend, do you have? Yes, the real one. Open to Ghana, France, or any of the treaties. Just open any of them. Open to any of the Ghana treaties, and let read Article 4 for us.
Article 4.
Are you outside? There's so much noise at your back. Oh. What is that?
There's no one here to.
Okay, I think it. Okay, so read it. Read the Ghana whichever treaty. Open to Article 4 and read it for us.
Okay. For the purposes of this convention, the term resident of a contracting state means any
Good.
person.
So that is okay. At Reverend, so that is Article 1. Go to Article 2. Go to paragraph 2 of the same Article 4.
Where by reason of the provisions of paragraph 1, an individual is a resident of both contracting states, then that individual status shall be determined as follows.
Mm-hmm.
The individual shall be deemed to be the resident solely of the state in which a permanent home is available to the individual.
Good. So now we are trying to understand what do they mean by a permanent home. Are you following it? Reverend, are you following?
Yes, please. I'm following.
Mm-hmm. So it is this permanent home that has taken us to trying to find a home and blah 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 blah. So that is where we are, and you can find the explanations of the permanent home under page 109. So Fred has read paragraph. Fred has read paragraph 13 and 14. We are now going back to paragraph 12. So go to paragraph, or even start from paragraph 11. Fred, 11 and 12. Read 11 and 12.
Okay.
11.
Thank you.
11. The article gives preference to the contracting state in which the individual has a permanent home available to him. This criterion will frequently be sufficient to solve the conflict. Example, where the individual has a permanent home in one contracting state and has only made a stay of some length in the other contracting state. 12. Subparagraph A means, therefore, that in an application of the convention, to bracket, that is where there is a conflict between the laws of the two states, it is considered that the residence is that place where the individual owns or possesses a home. This home has been permanent. That is to say, the individual must have arranged and retain it for its permanent use, as opposed to staying at a particular place under such conditions. That it is evident that the stay is intended to be of a short duration.
Good. So in a factual scenario, please look out for some of these small facts. It will come. If examiner wants to test you, he will just give you a lot of scenarios and test you whether you can understand whether this is a permanent in nature. Come back to 15.
Okay. 15.
Mm-hmm.
If the individual has a permanent home in both contracting states, it is necessary to look at the facts in order to ascertain with which of the two states its personal and economic relations are closer. Thus, regard will be had to his family and social relations, his occupations, his political, cultural, or other activities, his place of business, the place from which he administers his property, etc. The circumstance must be examined as a whole, but it is nevertheless obvious that consideration based on the personal acts of the individual must receive special attention. If a person who has a home in one state sets up a second in the other state while retaining the first, the fact that he retained the first in the environment where he has always lived, where he has worked, and where he has his family and possession can, together with other elements, go to demonstrate that he has retained his center of vital interest in the first state. I'm done.
Trying to understand what we mean by what we have read all over. So please, let's take note of those. That's one. Okay. Go to 16. Yes.
Francis.
Yes.
Hello,
Good
Francis.
morning.
Please, can he
Yes.
take the 15 again?
Okay, take the 15 again. Fred, take the 15 again.
Okay. If the individual has a permanent home in both contracting states, it is necessary to look at the facts in order to ascertain with which of the two states his personal and economic relations are closer. Thus, regard will be had to his family and social relations, his occupations, his political, cultural, or other activities, his place of business, the place from which he administers his property, etc. The circumstance must be examined as a whole, but it is nevertheless obvious that consideration based on the personal acts of the individual must receive special attention. If a person who has a home in one state set up a second in another state while retaining the first, the fact that he retained the first in the environment where he has always lived, or where he has worked, or where he has his family and possessions can, together with other elements, go to and demonstrate that he has retained a set of vital interest in the first state.
All right, I'm okay now.
Timo.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Good morning.
Even. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want a small clarification.
Mm-hmm.
The last sentence that he read. So let's assuming I'm from here. I have been working here all my life, and I've had a job in the UK, which is more permanent, which I have the opportunity to move with my family. So I moved at the beginning of the year. My family had moved in there. We're going to be there for quite a while. And I am there with my family, but I'm still retaining my permanent abode here. That is, in this particular instance, are they going to still assume I'm a Ghanaian, or now that my family is with me and I also have rented a room or have arranged for an accommodation there that is going to be there for a long time? They should rather take that one as
what happened to your home in Ghana? What happened to your home in Ghana?
I'm still retaining it. I haven't disposed it.
And it is accessible to you?
Yes, it's accessible to me.
Okay, but your family is where?
Yeah, with me in UK.
And you stayed there. You are a resident in UK. I mean, you qualified to be a resident in UK.
Yes.
So your vital interest will now reside in UK, isn't it?
So to speak, if it is only that of my family.
Yes. So we look at everything. So where you work and where your family is and where your possessions are. So
if we
Okay,
see
so
that your
that's where
family,
I'm.
so where you work, you are from what you have said, you claim that you are working in UK. Your family is also there with you. So
Yeah.
can't we say that that is where your vital interest may reside?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think something just crossed my mind. To say that I left at the beginning of the year, it means that I would have been in UK for roughly the 365 days.
Not necessarily. Residency is not 365 days. Mind you, we are now in the environment of double taxation.
Yes.
So we are not looking at only your local law. So in
I
this
understand.
particular instance, we are trying to understand if we are going by your permanent home or your vital
Okay.
interest. What do we mean exactly by this vital interest? That's why we are reading all these explanations.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Fred, continue with 16.
16. Subparagraph B. Establish a secondary criteria for two quite distinct and different situations. A. The case where the individual has a permanent home available to him in both contracting states and it's not possible to determine in which one he has a center of vital interest. B. The case where the individual has a permanent home available to him in neither contracting states. Preference is given to the contracting state where the individual has an habitual abode.
So you see the order. We are now moved to habitual abode. So for example, Fred, what you said, it means that the habitual abode will be where you are staying. So the whole of 365 days, even if you stay here 6 months, we are likely to see that you have overstayed in one of the states or one of the countries. So we can see this is your habitual abode. You can't stay 6 months here equally. Certainly one will overlap because 365 is even an even number, uneven number, and sorry, and an odd number. So you stay here 183 days, you are likely to stay here 184 or 180 something days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So move on. Okay. 17.
In the first situation, the case where the individual has a permanent home available to him in both states, the fact of having a habitual abode in one state but not in the other appears therefore as a circumstance which, in case of doubt as to where the individual has a center of vital interest, fits the balance towards the states where he stays more frequently. For this purpose, regard must be had to state made by the individual not only at the permanent home in the state in question, but also at any other place in the same state. Done.
Okay, look at 18.
18. The second situation in the case of an individual.
Sir Francis.
Yeah. Yeah, we can hear you. Hello.
Is there any way he can adjust his microphone a bit?
Fred, they say we can't hear your voice well.
Yeah, it's very thin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll increase it then. Okay. Hello. Okay. 18. Can you hear now? 18.
Yes.
Okay. The second situation is the case of an individual who has a permanent home available to him in neither contracting state. As for example, a person going from one hotel to another. In this case, also, all stays made in a state must be considered without it being necessary to ascertain the reasons for them.
Good. So you see, we may have someone who he doesn't have any of the permanent home, especially if he's making use of hotel. you cannot claim that hotel is a permanent home. You don't need to go and find out why is this guy moving from one hotel to the other. Reading 19 for us.
19. The application of the criterion provided for in subparagraph B requires a determination of whether the individual live habitually, in the sense of being customary or usually present, in one of the two states, but not in the other during a given period. The test will not be satisfied by simply determining which of the two contracting states the individual has spent more days during that period. The phrase "séjourne de façon habituelle," which is used in the French version of subparagraph B, provides a useful insight as the meaning of habitual abode, a notion that refers to the frequency, duration, and regularity of stays that are part of the settled routine of an individual's life and are therefore more than transient. As recognized in subparagraph C, it is possible for an individual to have an habitual abode in two states, which would be the case if the individual was customarily or usually present in each state during the relevant period, regardless of the fact that he spent more days in one state than in the other. Assume, for instance, that over a period of 5 years, an individual owns a house in both states A and B, but the fact do not allow the determination of the state in which the individual center of vital interest is situated. The individual works in state A, where he habitually lives, but returns to state B 2 days a month and once a year for a 3-week holiday. In that case, the individual have an habitual abode in state A, but not in state B. Assume, however, that...
Sorry, do you understand that scenario he gave?
Yeah.
Somebody works in Togo, he come and sleep in Ghana. That is a scenario he gave there. So you see, the fact that we have read all the tiebreaker rules, and we get to the final level where the contracting states have to agree, it is real. It is very real. You can experience it in real life. Okay, continue.
Where am I?
In that case, the individual will have an habitual abode in state A, but not in state B.
State B. Assume, however, that over the same period of 5 years, the individual works short period of time in state A, where he returns 15 times a year for stay of 2 weeks each time, but is present in state B the rest of the time. Assume also that the fact of the case do not allow the determination of the state in which the individual center of interest is situated. In that case, the individual will have an habitual abode in both state A and state B.
Okay, so guys, that is how you go by some of these difficulties. Yes,
Francis, I haven't been able to get a distinction between the two. I was thinking that the second case they would have said that he has a habitual abode in state B. The first was that he had a habitual abode in state A. So the other way around, I thought it was going to be him having a habitual abode in state.
Which paragraph are you referring to?
The 19, what he just finished, the two scenarios he gave. I have the soft copy, so I'm following.
Okay, so where are you confused now?
So
read it. Let's hear you.
Okay. Assume, however, that over the same period of 5 years, the individual works short periods of time in state A. Can you hear me?
No, we can't hear you. Your line is breaking.
Okay, so then let him take the assume.
Assume, however, that over the same period of 5 years, the individual works short period of time in state A. where he returns 15 times a year for stays of 2 weeks each time, but is present in state B the rest of the time. Assume also that the fact of the case do not allow the determination of the state in which the individual center of vital interest is situated. In that case, the individual will have an habitual abode in both state A and state B.
So what's the confusion? So his habitual abode is both in A and B, which is possible.
Yes. So the first case, because he only goes on vacation to state B, but has been working in state A, it was determined that his habitual abode will be state A. How is that different from the second case? Because the second case, what I was able to pick is that he visits state B more than state A. He's been working in state A, all right?
No, he doesn't visit. He doesn't visit A in more than B. Look at it again. In the second case is where he has equally stayed here and there. He works here, he stays here. So the habitual abode is equally divided. And that is where we move to the next stage, where the contracting parties, the contracting states will have to agree to make a choice to determine the state in which the guy is resident. Read it carefully. So the final.
I was able to conclude.
Okay, explain your understanding of the B scenario for us.
Okay, so he visits state B 15 times in a year for 2 weeks. So okay.
But what? Continue.
I'm still trying to process it.
Okay, so read it carefully, you understand. Go to 20 and let's finish with the individual aspect. Fred, read the 20 for us.
Where in the two situations referred to in subparagraph B, the individual has an habitual abode in both contracting states, or in neither, preference is given to the state of which is a national. If in this case still the individual is a national of both contracting states or of neither of them, subparagraph D assigns to the competent authority the duty of resolving the difficulty by mutual agreement according to the procedures established in Article 25.
So we'll come and look at Article 25 and then we'll know how do we initiate mutual agreement procedures. But like I said, if you take your time and read the whole of the commentary, you understand that all the explanation that is given there, they are real. It can happen. Though in some circumstances you may not encounter it. But in exams, they can put it in a scenario question for you to determine which of the tiebreaker you are going to apply. In a very simple manner, you are likely to see a permanent home where you will not be forced to go down to the mutual agreement procedures. Like the question we saw about Mr. Billy Fry, the questions were the facts were very clear, simple, and you were told that he was in Ghana for just work for 5 months. He stayed over for holidays. Then finally he packed all his things and left. So in that circumstance, you can easily find that Mr. Billy Fry is going to be a resident of the other contracting state. Okay. So that is for individuals. So I believe any question that comes on individuals, you can apply Article 4.2.
Francis.
Yes.
Francis.
We can hear you.
Is there a reason why we skip 19B? Is there a reason why we skip 19B?
No, we can't read everything. So take your time and read them.
Okay, all right.
Take your time. In fact, the commentaries are self-explanatory. I just want to point to you that you can't read only the main articles. You see, the main article is just one page. If you just read the main article and you think that you have covered the treatise and a question comes and you can do it, you are lying. The facts are in the commentary. So now, Millicent, I believe that you know that when a question comes and it is about residents, and you see some of these facts, you can apply the rules under Article 4. And Article 4, specifically Article 4.2. We are now going to look at situations where it involves a company when the facts are about company, and that is on paragraph 3. So Article 4, which is resident, which is I keep on saying is very, very important, is just 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph deals with the explanation, who a resident is. They try to explain resident, blah blah blah, then they finish. Then they move to the Article 4.2. Now it says that where by reason of the definition of resident in Article 4.1, if somebody, an individual, is resident of both contracting states, how do we determine the resident of that person? Then we use the 4.2 rules, the tiebreaker rules, and we go through that order: permanent home, whatever, place of vital interest, abode, nationality, and all those things. If we are still stuck and we can't determine the resident of that person, then the two contracting states, and here when we say contracting, the two competent authorities, when we say competent authorities, mostly we refer to the revenue authorities. So you see GRA, and then maybe the revenue authority in UK will sit down. Then we say this is the income available. This person, we are struggling to determine his resident so that we can apply the appropriate taxes. How do we resolve it? Then the two competent authorities will sit down and resolve through agreement. But they must go through the procedure established under Article 25. So you see that Article 25 is also important, and they keep examining them. If you see the past questions, it's the examiner keeps examining on Article 25. How is it done? Assuming you have a problem and you want to initiate a mutual agreement procedure, how do you do it? So we'll come and do it. We'll come and study the procedure very well on Article 25. It's Article 4 too clear, and you can apply. You know when to apply it. When the determination of residence involves an individual, we are moving from individual to any other person, which includes company. So paragraph 3. Let's go to paragraph 3. Fred, you take us through. Paragraph 3.2 is not plenty. It's just like one page. You can read it. But Fred, take us through.
Paragraph 3. This paragraph concerns companies and other bodies of persons, irrespective of whether they are or not legal persons. It may be rare in practice for a company, etc., to be subject to tax as a resident in more than one state, but it is of course possible if, for instance, one state attaches importance to the registration and the other state to the place of effective management. So in
good. So in our case, Fred, where do we attach importance to? Refer to section. Is anyone having section the Act 896?
Yeah.
Good. So if you have section 8, Act 896, go to
where? Go to where? Hello.
All right.
Oh.
So we are on a company, paragraph 3, isn't it? So we don't have a
Yes.
problem with paragraph 2. When you see any question in paragraph 2, please advise your clients accordingly or solve it properly. So we are moving to paragraph 3, which is on company. So Fred, you were reading for us. So continue.
Yeah,
So
but
now,
asking him
so,
to
but
go to the local law.
yeah, he told me to come to
Okay.
Article 19.
Yes. So
So
we want to look at our local law on how we recognize resident companies. So section 101, subsection 4.
yes, a company is resident in the country for the year of assessment. A, that a company is incorporated under the Companies Act 1963 into bracket Act 179, or B, the management and
So you see, from now going in exams, I don't expect you to quote 1963 again. No. In exams, I don't expect you to quote 1963 Act 179 again. Which one will you
992.
quote? Good, 992.
992.
So
2019.
Fred. So let's watch it out. Continue.
the management and control of the affairs of that company are exercised in the country at any time during that year.
Okay. So those are the two situations where we recognize the company as being resident. Okay, now let's come back to paragraph 21.
Okay. 21.
Nicholas, mute your mic so that you can hear Fred.
So, Francis,
Yeah.
does it mean that in Ghana, in our situation, we put premium on place of incorporation than place of management and control?
No. Why do you say that? Is it because of registration came first?
Yes.
No, not necessarily. We have two factors. Any of them, we hold on to it. So we have recognized too, but in some countries they don't recognize the place of effective management. Or
Okay.
the second part, which says how did he even put it? Something
So
decision
effective
making.
management.
So in some countries they don't use that one, but in our case we use both registration and then the effective management. So let's look at what
Francis.
the treaty also says. Yes.
Okay, so in my readings, I realized that the subsection 4 is more complicated than it's put out here. Because let's say a company is not incorporated here. It's incorporated in country B. But when we come to Ghana, the second letter B, the place of effective management, happens here. Meanwhile, the country B also places emphasis on the incorporation. So then country B want to tax the company there, whilst we're also focusing on the place of effective management here, and we want to tax the same company. So in such double instance, how do you handle it?
Good. So then that is where you have to bring your expertise as a tax expert on Article 4. But Fred, before you read a commentary for, in order to answer Redeemer's question, let's go back to the main Article 4. The main Article 4, paragraph 3, not the commentary. So go to the main Article 4, paragraph 3, and let's read that one for her. Okay. And then Redeemer, pay attention and listen to how the commentary suggests. Paragraph 3.
Whereby reason of the provisions of paragraph 1, a person other than an individual is a resident of both contracting states. The competent authorities of the contracting state shall endeavor to determine by mutual agreement the contracting...
Hold it there for me. Sorry, hold it there for me. So, Redeemer, have you seen it? He starts by saying that the competent authorities shall endeavor to resolve the conflict through what? mutual agreement procedure. So I get to your point, and you are very right that the section 101 subsection 4 is more complicated. So in such case where you are in Ghana, you are holding on to place of effective management. Meanwhile, somebody is also holding on to registration. And registration is mostly the obvious one, but you have gone ahead. I mean, our local law, we've gone ahead and use effective management. Then clearly there's going to be complications. So the first solution method is to allow the competent authorities to use mutual agreement procedure to do it. But it goes on to say, in trying to use the mutual agreement procedures, it says the contracting state shall endeavor to determine by mutual agreement the contracting state of which such person shall be deemed to be resident for the purpose of this convention, having regard to its place of effective management. Have you seen it? So first, if the two countries are going to sit on the table, please consider the place of effective management. One, the place where it is incorporated to, or otherwise constituted, and any other relevant factors. So any other relevant factors. So there are basically three factors we consider, or three things we consider. The first one is the place of effective management. Then we consider the registration, registration or incorporation, and then any other important factor that you think will point and say that this thing is. And mostly, like Ibrahim said, place of effective management is where the economic decisions are taken. So in most commentaries, the commentary lays emphasis and say that, look, there can be registration, all right, but where does the economic activity take place? Where does the strategy that brought the money which we want to tax, where did it originate? Under that circumstance, we place a little emphasis, or if you read the commentary, it gives us the impression that we should consider first the place of effective management. You can register the company, but if you go to Mauritius, most companies have been registered there. Nothing happens there. So does registration bring money? Haven't we seen a company where it has registered and it is dormant for a very long time and they don't do anything? So that is the point.
So if I get your point very well, in order of importance, the place of effective management should be your first point of reference before you descend to registration, then any other important factor.
Yes. Okay. Based on the fact too, and it is a circumstance per circumstance basis or situation per situation basis. But let's read from paragraph 21 up to 24, and then you understand where this commentary is also coming from. And please pay attention to this, because all the questions, if it is not a company, it's an individual, but company comes mostly. So let's read 21.
21. This paragraph concerns companies and other bodies of persons, irrespective of whether they are or not legal persons. It may be rare in practice for a company, etc., to be subject to tax as a resident in more than one state. But it is, of course, possible if, for instance, one state attaches importance to the registration and the other state to the place of effective management. So in the case of companies, also special rules as to the preference must be established. 22. When paragraph 3 was first drafted, it was considered that it will not be an adequate solution to attach importance to a purely formal criterion like registration, and preference was given to a rule based on the place of effective management, which was
Redeemer, have you seen where the commentary is taking its preference from? So yeah. It won't be good to attach importance to purely legal registration. So the preference should be based on rules which relates to effective management, which was intended to be based on the place where the company was actually managed from. Okay. 23.
In 2017, however, the Committee on Fiscal Affairs recognized that all those situations of double residence of entities other than individuals were relatively rare. There had been a number of tax avoidance cases involving dual resident companies. It therefore concluded that a better solution to the issue of dual residence of entities other than individuals was to deal with such situation on a case-by-case basis.
Good. So case by case basis. 24.
As a result of these considerations, the current version of paragraph 3 provides that the competent authorities of the contracting state shall endeavor to resolve by mutual agreement cases of dual residence of a person other than an individual.
Okay. 24-1.
Competent authorities have to apply paragraph 3.
Sir, please, just a quick one. Sir, I joined not too long ago, and I'm not following. Like, where he's reading from?
You are late, so that's your punishment. So we are considering residents. Last time we finished with individuals, and we are now reading the commentary. Do you have the commentary?
Oh no, I don't have it.
Okay, then listen. Let's listen when we finish. Then we can see how. So we are reading from page 112, the commentary. How do we determine the resident of a company? That's where we are. So just pay attention, and then when we finish. So 24.1.
Competent authorities having to apply paragraph 3 will be expected to take account of various factors, such as where the meetings of the person's board of directors or equivalent body are usually held.
Please pay attention to this one. If the book is your own, you can underline it, because most of the questions we are going to tell you where the board of directors meet. And in fact, for me to even make you follow this thing very well, let me project this question again. Then you can understand where we are heading to. Okay, Fred. So
yes.
I projected these questions before, but I want you to look at it again. So let's look at, can you see my board?
Yes.
Okay, so let's read question 2, 2013. And then so let's pause on 24.1. But Fred, read this one and pay attention to the facts given to you. Read it for us.
Moselle Limited is incorporated in country A and listed on the stock exchange in country B. The board chairman of the company, who owns a substantial minority shares, lives in country B with 3 other directors.
Hold it though. So have you seen where the board chairman is?
Yes.
Where is he?
He lives in country B.
Country
Good.
B.
So in a company, do you know the role of the board chairman? You know how influential he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
The company has a manufacturing plant in country A. The management decisions for operating the plant are made by 2 directors, residents in country A, who meet weekly.
Hold it too. Where does the management decision take place?
Country A.
Country A.
Okay. Continue.
Okay. They however consult the other directors in country B on matters of exceptional importance. The board of directors meets once in a quarter at the company's office in country B. Should I continue?
Yes.
The chairman and the 2 other directors attend the board meetings in person, and 1 director remains at the plant in country A and participates by telephone. Country A treats a company as resident if it is incorporated in country A. Country B treats a company as tax resident if its central management and control is exercised in country B. Under country B laws, Musée Limited is regarded as resident in country B. The tax treaty between country A and country B is the same as the OECD Model Tax Convention. Required. In accordance with OECD Model Convention on Income and Capital, advise Musée Limited the country in which it is resident for tax purposes and give reasons for your advice.
So you must give reasons. So not just say that I think it is resident here. Then that is it. You must give reasons. So that you see the facts given to you. Look at this one too. Fred.
Yes.
This is August 2016. Read that one.
August 2016.
Setimo.
Yes.
The first one, we've not finished processing it, so you're adding another one.
No, I'm not saying you should process. I just want you to see it. We are not going to read what the commentary is saying. So just see, look at the way the
so we are going to come back to it.
We are surely. We are not solving it now because you don't even know how to solve it. Okay. So just look at it. When we finish, then I'll come back to you and then I'll just ask you to solve it. Look at question this one. Fred.
Yes. Question 1. Relics Gold Resources Limited is a Ghanaian public liability company which is listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in South Africa. The company operates a gold mine in Ashanti region of Ghana. The company has 5 directors. The chairman of the board of directors, who owns 40% of the shares of Relics Gold Ashanti Limited. The 2 other directors reside in South Africa. The company has an office in Johannesburg, South Africa. The other 2 directors are residents in Ghana. The management and operational decisions of the gold mine are taken at weekly meetings, taken at the mine site by the 2 directors who are residents in Ghana. The Johannesburg office is managed by one of the directors stays at the gold mine and participates in the board proceedings by video call. Required. Advise Relics Resources Limited in which country it is resident for tax purposes within the contents of Ghana, South Africa, double taxable, and commentary on the OECD Model Convention on Income and Tax.
Okay. Thank you. Now pay attention to the directors, where they live, how the decisions are taken. Let's come and see 24.1, page 112, how the OECD model tells us how we resolve such complex situations. So 24.1.
24.1. Competent authorities having to apply paragraph 3 will be expected to take account of various factors, such as where the meetings of the person's board of directors or equivalent body are usually held, where the chief executive officer and the other senior executives usually carry on their activities, where the senior day-to-day management of the person is carried on, where the person's headquarters are located, which country's laws govern the legal status of the person, where its accounting records are kept, whether determine that the legal person is a resident of one of the contracting states but not of the other for the purpose of the convention, will carry the risk of an improper use of the provisions of the convention, etc. Countries that consider that the competent authority should not be given the discretion to solve such cases of dual residence without an indication of the factors to be used for that purpose may want to supplement the provision to refer to these or other factors that they consider relevant.
Continue.
I should continue. Okay. 24.2. A determination under paragraph 3 will normally be requested by the person concerned through the mechanism provided for under paragraph 1 of the Article 25. Such a request may be made as soon as it is probable that a person will be considered a resident of each contracting state under paragraph 1. Due to the notification requirement in paragraph 1 of Article 25, it should be in any event be made within 3 years from the first notification to that person of taxation measure taken by one.
So let me explain 24.1. So 24.1 is saying that, of course, the two competent authorities should meet and do what? Agree. But when they meet and so please, when you're answering your question, you need to make reference to those ones, because that's what the commentary is saying. From the facts given to us, you cannot say that it would be wrong for you to say, okay, one country is the resident of the company. The commentary clearly tells us that the best procedure is for the two countries to meet together, but the two countries should consider the factors that he has given to us under 24.1. The board of directors, the day-to-day management decisions, and blah blah blah, all of those ones. So pay attention. Now it goes to 24.2, and he's trying to introduce to you how the procedure is initiated. We will come and do Article 25 very well, but you must give a notice and say, for example, if it is Ghana will initiate it by giving a notice to the Johannesburg, the South African Revenue Authority that this is the problem.
Hello,
and
Francis.
all the processes and yes.
On the 24.1. Yes, if we are trying to arrive at a mutual agreement based on the various factors that have been given, is it a situation that they have been arranged in order of priority? In fact, that if I'm able to establish that the company's board of directors meets in country A, and it means the effective management takes place in country A, or the various activities that have been listed there, any country which gets more of those activities being taken in such countries becomes the place of effective management.
No. Under 24.1, you are in Ghana, I'm in South Africa. We are going to meet to discuss. When we are meeting to discuss, we look at them case by case basis. Okay. But there are certain things that we must all consider. If we are considering, the factors are those that he has listed under 24.1. It doesn't mean that if you say place of effective management is in one country, then that is where the resident of the company is. No. What about me too? If I'm saying that registration is or what about if the directors are scattered all over? So all 24.1 is trying to tell you is that when you have a company who has a dual resident, their approach is that don't determine the resident alone. Determine it by the mutual agreement. Per your law, per your local law, yes, per your local law, yes, he is resident because effective management takes place in your local law. But effective management alone is not enough. There can be, the other country can also say he has registration which has been fulfilled. So as long as he's registered in his country, he is also resident. So you can't take one point, we can't take one side and then remain there. So the best approach is for us to go to Article 25, the mutual agreement procedure. And that is where 24.2 introduced to you that is how you start it. You give a notice. We'll come and learn everything under 25. But he just introducing at this particular point, he's introducing it to you how you start it. Ibra, are you with me?
Yes. I think
So in
when we
your
get
answer,
to
your answer
the
to
mutual agreement.
I have finished.
No, let me hear you.
Yeah. So when you are answering the question, you don't take. If you take one position, you may be wrong.
Okay. So how do you express your points in the answering of the question?
Okay. So let me go back to rallies. Let's look at the answer plan. Read it for me, Ibrahim.
I'm using phone, so I can't see very well.
Okay. Fred, read for us. Okay. Redeemer, read it first.
Okay. Article 4 provides that the residence of a company is determined by place of incorporation or place of effective management. Should I proceed?
Yes.
However,
so you see, stating this point, stating these 2 points can earn you 2 marks.
When a company is incorporated in a country and has its place of effective management in the other contracting states, the residence of that company is determined only by its place of effective management. It is therefore necessary to consider Article 4 of the Ghana-South Africa Double Taxation Agreement and the OECD commentary on that article.
Okay.
In this case, 3 of the 5 directors, including the chairman, live in South Africa. It is therefore necessary to consider whether this is sufficient to effectively manage Relics Gold Resources Limited from South Africa. The OECD
By the way, hold on. By the way, you see, this question was referring to Ghana-South Africa Treaty. So who can read the Ghana-South Africa Treaty for us? And that is where you need that red book, because the commentary is a template one. It's a template. But here you have been specifically restricted to Ghana-South Africa. So we need to look at Ghana-South Africa Treaty and read Article 4 for us.
Article 4. For the purpose of this convention, the 10 residents of a contracting state means...
What page are you reading?
Page 80. For the purpose of this convention,
Fred, continue.
For the purpose of this convention, the 10 residents of a contracting state means any person who, under the laws of that state, is liable to tax therein by the reason of that person's domicile, residence, place of management, or any other criterion of a similar nature. And also includes...
Okay, so since it's a company, go to 4.3 and let's see.
4.3. Where by reason of the provision of paragraph 1, a person other than an individual is resident of both contracting state, then it shall be deemed to be a resident solely of the state in which the place of effective management is situated.
Have you seen the specific provisions of the Ghana-South Africa Treaty?
Yes.
Continue. So Ghana-South Africa is saying that it should be solely where the place of effective management. Continue and let's.
It's done. Finish.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. So they didn't even talk about registration.
No.
Okay. But I believe that another article may include. So that is what the Ghana-South Africa Treaty is saying. So Redeemer, let's continue.
So they expect us to have every treaty provision ahead, right?
Yes. There are only 14. And even the 14 is not everything that has been rectified. It's just 9 that has been rectified. Why is it difficult?
Not at all. Let's continue.
Good.
Wait.
I like your spirit. Thank you.
With God, all things are possible.
Yes.
The OECD commentary on Article 4 provides that the following factors should be taken into account to determine where an entity has its place of effective management. Next slide, please.
Please, do you understand the answer plan? Ghana, South Africa is saying that to determine the resident, we should use effective place of management. But how do we determine effective place of management from the facts given to you? Then we come back to OECD to help us determine how can we say effective place of management has taken place. Next slide is here.
Okay.
Read on.
Where the board of directors usually meets.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, the board meetings are carried out in the company office in Johannesburg, with one of the directors participating by video call from the company premises in Ghana. The evidence here is therefore not conclusive.
Do you agree?
I don't.
You don't agree that the evidence is not conclusive?
I do agree.
Yes.
I do.
Okay.
But if you're talking about quorum, people
give
are
reasons.
at a place and one person is there, so the quorum would be present in the country where the two people are. The decision that the one on the telephone is only making a contribution.
Okay, so what about it was the board chairman?
But board
I
chairman can
want the one who agrees to give a reason.
Come again.
The one who agrees to give us the reason.
But
no, it was Redeemer is saying that she doesn't agree that it is not conclusive that the board actually met in Johannesburg. From the answer plan, we say that it is not conclusive that the board actually finally meets in Johannesburg. And I asked, okay, if you are saying that the quorum has been constituted in Johannesburg and the board chairman is not there, can you also say that the quorum has been constituted?
That is why he joined by a telephone call.
Okay. So where did the meeting take place?
In Johannesburg.
Okay, let's go. Johannesburg, eh?
Yes.
Okay. B.
Okay.
Continue, B.
Where the CEO and other senior executives of Relics Gold Resources Limited usually carry on their activities, and where the senior day-to-day management of it
is missing.
Okay. It's carried on.
Mm-hmm. Continue.
The two directors live in Ghana
and take
management and operational decisions of the company. The two of them are therefore responsible for day-to-day management of the company. They only consult the other directors in South Africa on issues of exceptional and strategic importance, which are the duties of the board. There are therefore strong grounds for arguing that the day-to-day senior management of the company takes place in Ghana. It will be difficult to perform the day-to-day management functions of the company from South Africa.
Do you agree? Guys, have you seen this Ghana South Africa treaty saying that? Yes. Who wanted to ask the question?
It's me, Ebenezer.
Talk.
All right, I agree, but there's a clarification that is emerging to me.
Okay.
That is, if we're talking about the senior management day-to-day activities, we are actually looking at the management level, not the board level.
Mm-hmm.
So if the board of directors even meets in this country, but okay, let's say the board of directors meet in South Africa, but we have the executive, the CEO, and the executives running the business here. The team management will still be here, but not in South Africa.
Yes, you see, the OECD commentary is saying that if you're able to conclude any of the factors that has been given, then we can say effective management has taken place in that country. So in the first one, we were not able to conclusively state that the board usually meets in South Africa. That's why we are saying that it's not conclusive. Then we come and look at the other factors that the OECD has suggested. We should look at where the CEO and senior management day-to-day activities take place. So that is where we are. And the facts gave us that the senior management take decision. In fact, they manage the company from Ghana. It is on exceptional situations that they will call the South African board. So will you say that it is possible to manage the company from South Africa? Calling that exceptional call that they make, do you see it as day-to-day management of the company? Yeah.
Francis.
This get back to the question I asked, which brought us here. So, assuming you were able to conclude that the board meeting takes place in South Africa or in Ghana, we're able to have a definite conclusion on that. Does it mean that the place where the board meeting takes place becomes the place of effective management, and we will not go the next step further to find out where the senior management decision takes place?
No, so you are looking for a strong position in each case.
Yeah.
Which one will be more convincing? Ibrahim, do you get the point?
So you will tackle all the points,
yes.
But you look at
the more reasonable situation.
No, but Francis,
based on the fact, yes.
Francis, I think a lot of us are coming from a background where we have actually been taught to understand that strategic decisions are different from managerial decisions. Okay, so the strategic decisions are made by the board of directors. Management decisions are made by management in the business. Okay, so I'm trying to see whether in taxation or international taxation, can we still carry this mindset into it? So when we talk about effective management decisions being made, are we limiting it to the managerial aspect of it, or we are also adding the strategic aspect of it, where the board activities is included? If the managerial encapsulates the two, then fine. Then we'll have adjust our initial
I believe that you are going far. If you reach 24.1, it just gives you some criteria. It says that where the meetings of the board of directors are usually held. Okay. If you are convinced that the board of directors hold their meetings in Ghana, you can conclude that in that case, then it is effectively managed from Ghana. So we'll give you facts. And I believe that the examiner will not mix the facts up for you. The examiner is unlikely to mix up several facts for you, at least. Or even if he mixes them up for you, one of them is likely to come out strongly. In the first place, we notice that it's not all the board who meets in South Africa. Okay. And again, the reason why we could not conclude was that, okay, let's assume that there are 3 board of directors. One of them in South Africa, one of them in Ghana, one of them in Cote d'Ivoire. All of them phoned in. Where will you say the board has met? All of them, they phone in. Where will you say? So which country is on phone? Redeemer.
It's nobody's country.
Redeemer, which? Okay, yes. So another success.
Francis, for me, I think life is easy. The paragraph 24.1, fortunately, has outlined the points that we should look out for in the facts. If you're able to align back to those parts, and you're able to get a strong point, as you said, then you come to a conclusion. It's most likely that the country will be said to be.
That's all I want you to do. So why are you struggling?
No, Redeemer.
Yes.
I agree with you, But I wanted us to bring home what we had already known. In fact, when it comes to taxations, some things are simplified, or principles are used to run it. So I come from a business background, where I am taught that strategy decisions are different from managerial decisions. Now, from 24.1, it is telling me I don't have to think like that when it comes to international taxations. When we say management decisions, it includes the board activities, which ordinarily I will assume to be a strategic. Are you getting me?
Yeah,
so having understood this, it gives me a framework to operate from. That is what I wanted to clear. So thank you.
You know what's one thing, my brother? So when they ask a question and you try to think too hard, that's when you deviate. But when you try to, because if I also I realized I said no in the first instance because we're talking about quorum and those kind of stuff. If I come from a legal background, I'll be confused. But the initial point is that when it comes to local tax law, international tax law, whenever there is a conflict, the international law will stand, which I have at the back of mind. So I don't hassle when it comes to this point. So let's try to
point of interest.
When
it comes to local and international treaties, Francis, is also international law.
Yes, and there's a contradiction. If there's a treaty between the two and there's a contradiction, you look to the treaty.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Redeemer, where did you get to? Okay, so look at the. Okay, so you were on C, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, C.
Where the company's head office is located. The scenario is silent on where the company's head office is located. However, it will be argued that since the board meetings take place in the company's offices in Johannesburg, it might be presumed that the head office is in South Africa. It is not clear what activities take place in the Johannesburg office, apart from the board meetings. The issue of corporate head office is therefore not conclusive.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. D.
I agree.
Which country's law governs the local status of the legal status of the company? The company is
that one.
Yeah, okay. The company is governed by the Ghana law, which indicates its residence in Ghana.
Okay.
Out of the four issues, two are not conclusive, and the other two clearly shows that Relics Gold Resources Limited is effectively managed in Ghana. It could be concluded that Relics Gold Resources is resident in Ghana for tax purposes.
Good. So that is how you answer your questions.
It looks like we have to go through the points.
Come again.
It looks like we have to go through all the points listed in 24.1. Is that necessary?
Yes. Yes.
It's a template.
The facts will,
okay.
Yeah, the facts will tell you. So you go through them. So please, the commentary is very important. You cannot pass very well if you don't have the commentaries. Okay. If you don't have the commentary. So I will urge you, we have rushed through it. Millicent, you notice that we didn't read everything. You wanted us to.
Yes.
We can't read everything here. So I will just be jumping like that in order for us to move. So
okay.
I'll urge you to take your time. Take your time and read very well, and then let's see how it comes, and then you'll be able to answer the questions. Okay. So I believe that with this in mind, you can answer this one. You can answer Musi, isn't it? So we look at the first one. This one, you can answer them. Because this is also the same. The board of directors meet once per quarter at the company's head office. At the company's office in country B, the chairman and two other directors attend the board meetings in person and blah, blah, blah. Then you are asked to advise. So, if you don't have the past question, try and see if you can get it. Then you can see more of the questions. They have solutions in them. Then you can follow. and the examiner repeats some of them. Fortunately, he repeats some of them. So I consider Article 4 fully done, pending your further reading to understand them and solve questions on them. Now, the next favorite article I like is Article 5. Article 5, I have summarized a bit of it. So I'm going to share it with you. We have it on the website. I'm going to share it with you on the platform. You have to read it fully before our next class. Okay, we have to use like 4 weeks or 5 weeks to finish the treaty. Then we go to transfer pricing. Then if you finish with these two, then we are almost about 80% of the course. Any question that comes with treaty or transfer pricing, you should be able to answer it. And it will come in this form, just small scenario questions like this. Any question?
Our slides and
hello, Timo.
Our slides and recorded lectures.
Derek, you wanted to ask a question? Oh, somebody called.
Yeah, hello.
Are you
I
online?
have a question. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah,
Andrew.
I have a question. Yeah, so in answering the question, is it necessary to pinpoint the paragraphs or the subsections when answering the questions?
Yes, because if you are unable to do that, you find yourself in a bit difficult. You find yourself in a difficult situation. Okay. For example, if you look at the answer plan for this one, the Musi one, have you seen it?
Yeah.
It says under Article 4 of the Model Tax Convention on Income and Capital, a person who, under the laws of jurisdiction, is liable by reason of residence or place of management is regarded as resident in that jurisdiction for tax purposes. However, where a company is a resident of two contracting states, the tiebreaker rule shall apply. In that rule, the company shall be deemed to be a resident only of the states in which the company has its place of effective management. The problem requires the interpretation and application of Article 4.3. And Andrew, I don't think this is difficult because you see, Article 4 has
with the articles. I'm talking about the paragraphs. You see, with the paragraphs, section 24, 1, under the commentaries. That is what I'm referring
to. No, you don't need to refer them to the paragraph. No. They've just the book has just outlining in paragraphs for you so that you just follow. That's all. You don't need to.
Okay.
Do you understand? But you just have to know that this one, Article 4, has 3 main paragraphs. The explanations, 24.1 and all those things, they are not necessary. So 24.1, 24.2, 25, and no, they are not necessary. All right, so we will end international taxation here.